Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever thought of logic as something you could actually see? You can just forget about all those complex formulas for a minute. Today, we're going to dig into this really cool source that turns abstract reasoning into simple, intuitive diagrams. All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Then we'll build up to making more complex sentences. After that, we'll look at the absolute limits of logic, and we'll wrap things up with a little mystery that the source material left for us to solve. First up, let's learn a new visual language. And like with any language, you gotta learn the basic words before you can start stringing together sentences. Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics. This circle. Just think of it as representing one simple idea. Logicians would call it a proposition, but we'll just call it A. And to make this all super easy to follow, let's decide that A stands for the statement, "It's sunny." And that's really all a proposition is. It's just a statement that can only be one of two things, true or false. It's sunny. It's perfect for this. It either is sunny or it isn't. Simple as that. Okay, now this is where the visual language gets really, really clever. See how it shows us the opposite of our idea? If the white space means true, then the black space has to mean false. So if A is it's sunny, then not A, this whole black area, is just it is not sunny. It's a brilliant, intuitive way to see what not means. All right, let's throw another idea into the mix, B. We'll say that B represents the statement, it's the weekend. And you guessed it, not B is the exact opposite. It is not the weekend. So now we have two building blocks to play with. All right, now that we have our words, let's start making some sentences. We're going to use two of the most powerful connectors in all of logic, and or. So I've got a question for you. How would you draw it's sunny or it's the weekend? Take a second. Which parts of this diagram do you think would have to be true for that statement to hold up? And there it is. A or B is true. If it's a sunny weekday, a cloudy weekend, or even a sunny weekend. The point is, as long as at least one of those things is true, the whole statement is true. And this is probably the most important takeaway here. Think of or as being expansive. It opens the door to more possibilities. And, on the other hand, is restrictive. It narrows your options and demands that both things be true at the exact same time. And you can see that difference so clearly right here. Look at A and B. It's just that tiny little overlapping piece in the middle. That's the only time it's true, in that one perfect scenario, a sunny weekend. Okay, buckle up, because now we're getting into one of the most powerful and sometimes kind of confusing ideas in all of logic, the conditional, or the if-then statement. Think of it like this. An if-then statement is basically a promise. If I promise you, if it's sunny, then it's the weekend. I've only broken my promise if it turns out to be a sunny weekday. That's it. Any other time, a cloudy weekday, a cloudy weekend, a sunny weekend, the promise still holds. And this diagram, it shows that promise perfectly. See that little black crescent shape? That is the one and only situation that makes my promise false. The part of A that is not B. A sunny day that is not the weekend. Everywhere else, the statement is considered true. Okay, this is a super common trap that people fall into. They think if A, then B is the same thing as if B, then A. But they're totally different. Saying if it's sunny, it's the weekend is not at all the same as saying if it's the weekend, it's sunny, right? One doesn't automatically mean the other. But with our diagrams, it's impossible to get confused. Just look at them. They're basically mirror images. The specific zone that makes each statement false is completely different, which proves they are two totally separate logical ideas. Okay, so we've seen how to build regular statements. Now what happens if we push this system to the absolute extremes? Let's look at statements that are always true or always false. So we call these a tautology and a contradiction. A tautology is something that's always true just because of how it's built, like saying it's either sunny or it's not sunny. Well, yeah. A contradiction is something that can never, ever be true, like trying to say it's both sunny and not sunny at the same time. Makes no sense. And wow, the visuals for these are, well, they're stark, they're powerful. A tautology is pure white. It's true no matter what. A contradiction is pure black. There is absolutely no scenario where it could possibly be true. So you'd think we have this whole thing figured out, right? A nice, neat system for seeing logic. But then, buried in the source material, there's this weird little curveball, a final and kind of cosmic puzzle. Right next to all these super clear logic diagrams, you find this. It's a quote that links 4 zodiac signs to these actions that sound, well, they sound vaguely logical, right? Associates, differentiates, disassociates, identifies. What in the world is going on here? But wait, there's one more piece to the puzzle. The source straight up says that A and not B, and B and not A. Remember those 2 crescent shapes we saw? It calls them 2 forms of non-commutation. Now, that's a fancy term, but all it really means is that order matters a lot. It's just like our if-then statements. So somehow, the source is connecting these very specific logical shapes to these astrological terms. So, what do we do with this? Is it just a really creative way to remember these logical forms? Maybe some kind of deep philosophical metaphor? Or is our simple guide to logic actually hiding a completely different astrological secret? The source doesn't tell us, which leaves us with one final and pretty fascinating question. What do you think?